The wind didn't just blow at Shinnecock Hills this week, it broke a legend. Scottie Scheffler, the #1 golfer on the entire planet, walked onto the most dangerous golf course in America chasing a dream that only 5 men in history have ever completed. And within hours, that dream was hanging by a thread. Before we get into exactly what happened on that course, hit the subscribe button right now, because this channel breaks down every major moment in golf before anyone else does, and you do not want to miss what's coming in the next few minutes. Now let's go back to where it all started. Shinnecock Hills, Long Island, New York. A golf course so brutal that in 2004 no player even finished under par for the entire tournament. In 2018 it caused so much chaos that officials were accused of losing control of the greens entirely. Now in 2026, the US Open returned to this same monster, and the forecast leading into round 1 was nothing short of terrifying. Meteorologists were predicting wind gusts over 40 miles per hour, the kind of wind that turns a simple 8-foot putt into a guessing game, the kind of wind that took a clean approach shot and threw it sideways into a bunker that nobody even aimed for. And right in the middle of all this chaos stood Scottie Scheffler, world #1, defending Open champion. A man who has won majors, who has dominated leaderboards for years, and who walked into Shinnecock with one mission that every golf fan on earth was watching for: the career Grand Slam. Win the US Open, and Scheffler joins one of the most exclusive clubs in the history of sports. Only 5 golfers have ever done it. 5. In the entire history of the game. But golf does not care about legacy. It does not care about dreams. And Shinnecock Hills was about to remind Scottie Scheffler of exactly that. Thursday morning arrived with a 2-hour fog delay, an eerie warning sign of what was coming. When play finally began, the wind hit the course like a wall. Scheffler stepped up to the 16th hole, a par 5 that on a calm day might be reachable in 2 shots. But this was not a calm day. The wind was blowing dead into him at 25 miles per hour, uphill, on a hole that was already one of the toughest on the property. He swung. The ball lashed off his club and disappeared into a bunker sitting 150 yards short of the green, 10 feet below the fairway. Scheffler stood there, hands on his knees, squinting into the sunlight, asking his caddy Ted Scott if he could even see where the ball had landed. A few minutes later, everyone got the answer they were dreading. Scottie Scheffler, the best golfer in the world, carded a bogey 6 on a par 5. Not a birdie. Not a par. A bogey, on a hole he should have dominated. By the time round 1 ended, Scheffler walked off the course at 2 over par. 4 shots behind the early leader. Beaten up. Exhausted. And forced to answer a question that nobody wants to hear after the opening round of a major they are supposed to win. But here is where the story gets interesting, because what Scheffler did next, after one of the worst rounds of his career, is something almost nobody expected. After one of the toughest rounds of his career, Scottie Scheffler did something that completely changed the tone of this tournament. He went back to the practice range. He went back to basics. And on Friday morning, he walked back onto Shinnecock Hills with a different look in his eyes. Round 2 began, and the wind, somehow, was just as relentless as the day before. But this time, Scheffler adjusted. He wasn't fighting the course anymore, he was reading it. Shot after shot, he started finding fairways that had punished him just 24 hours earlier. By the time he walked off the 18th green, the scoreboard told a completely different story. A 4 under 68. One of the best rounds of the entire tournament, on one of the hardest golf courses on the planet, in conditions that had already broken half the field. Scheffler himself summed it up perfectly afterward. He said something that golf fans will be repeating for years. He said it's almost easier in the US Open, because the wind is happening to everybody. Not just him. Everybody. But here's the problem. While Scheffler was clawing his way back into contention, somebody else had already taken control of this golf course, and he wasn't planning on giving it up. Wyndham Clark. A name that some fans had almost forgotten about heading into this tournament. Clark shot the lowest first round in Shinnecock Hills US Open history, then followed it up by taking advantage of slightly calmer conditions to push his total to 7 under par. 7 under, at a golf course where simply breaking par feels like winning a major on its own. Clark wasn't just leading, he was dominating, and after the controversy that has followed him through parts of this season, this week was turning into a redemption story of its own. And Clark wasn't the only name making headlines. Rory McIlroy opened with a 69, one of just 6 players in the entire morning wave to shoot under par in those brutal Thursday winds. Fans on Long Island were already buzzing about whether this could be the week McIlroy finally silences his critics again. Jon Rahm sent the entire patio into chaos when he drained a 61-foot putt for a share of the early lead, a putt so long that even the commentators couldn't believe what they were watching. And then there was the moment nobody saw coming. Joaquin Niemann, frustrated after a poor shot, threw his club in anger, and the USGA didn't hesitate. A two-shot penalty, right in the middle of a major championship, instantly turning Niemann from a contender into a cautionary tale, and giving every golf channel and every golf account online something to argue about for the next 24 hours. So now, heading into the weekend, here is exactly where things stand. Wyndham Clark sitting at the top of the leaderboard at 7 under, looking calm, looking dangerous. Scottie Scheffler 4 shots back, but coming off one of the best rounds of his entire career, with momentum suddenly on his side. Rory McIlroy lurking just behind, still believing he has one more run left in him. And the wind, the same wind that has already destroyed scorecards and reputations all week, is forecasted to come back even stronger for the weekend. Scheffler said it himself standing on the range after his round. He said the wind was up yesterday, the wind was up again today, and on these greens, with this much slope, judging speed in this kind of wind might be the hardest challenge in golf right now. So the real question becomes this. Can Scottie Scheffler claw back 4 shots on one of the most unforgiving golf courses in America, in winds that could get even worse, against a leaderboard that includes Wyndham Clark, Rory McIlroy, and Jon Rahm, all playing for one of the biggest prizes in the sport? Or does the career Grand Slam dream slip away from him for another year? Saturday arrived, and the entire golf world turned its attention to one number. 7. 7 shots. That is exactly how far behind Scottie Scheffler was sitting heading into round 3, dead level par for the tournament, paired with Brian Harman, while leader Wyndham Clark prepared to walk out in the final group of the day alongside Matt Fitzpatrick. Let that sink in for a second. The best golfer on the planet, the man chasing one of the rarest achievements in the history of this sport, was 7 shots back at the halfway point of a US Open. 7 shots, on a golf course where even par for the week might still be enough to lift the trophy. History says comebacks like this almost never happen at a US Open. History also says Scottie Scheffler doesn't usually do things the easy way. Meanwhile, Wyndham Clark looked like a man who refused to blink. Back-to-back rounds of 64 and 69 had put him 4 shots clear of 2 major champions, Matt Fitzpatrick and Xander Schauffele, with Tom Kim also lurking just a few shots back. Clark wasn't just leading on the scoreboard either, he was leading in almost every statistical category that matters in US Open golf. Fairways hit, greens in regulation, and most importantly, true strokes gained on the putting green, where Clark had been nothing short of lethal through the opening 2 rounds. But this is a US Open. And on a golf course like Shinnecock Hills, with wind that refuses to let up, leads can disappear in a single hour. Rory McIlroy, also sitting level par alongside Scheffler, was paired right next to him heading into Saturday, both men knowing they needed something special, and fast. Dustin Johnson had already imploded with a horrific 8 on the par 4 14th during round 2. Bryson DeChambeau, Jon Rahm, and Brooks Koepka were already gone, missing the cut entirely at a brutal number, a reminder that even the biggest names in golf are never safe at a US Open. So here is where this story stands right now. The final round is still being written. Wyndham Clark calm, in control, 4 shots clear of the chasing pack. Scottie Scheffler, 7 shots back, needing the round of his life, not once, but twice, if he wants any chance at completing the career Grand Slam this week. And the wind, the same wind that has already wrecked scorecards, reputations, and predictions all week long, is not finished with Shinnecock Hills yet. What happens over these final 36 holes will decide whether Scottie Scheffler walks away with the one major he has never been able to win, or whether he leaves Long Island with nothing but more questions about whether he will ever complete the slam at all. Let's talk about what's really on the line here, because this isn't just about a golf tournament anymore. This is about legacy. This is about history. This is about whether Scottie Scheffler's name gets written into one of the most exclusive lists in the history of sports, alongside legends like Gene Sarazen, Ben Hogan, Gary Player, Jack Nicklaus, and Tiger Woods. 5 men. In over 100 years of professional golf, only 5 men have ever completed the career Grand Slam. 5. And Scottie Scheffler is sitting 7 shots back, with 36 holes left to either join that list, or walk away from Shinnecock Hills empty-handed for another year. Think about the weight of that for a second. This man has already won the Masters. He has already won the PGA Championship. He has already lifted the claret jug as Open champion. The only major missing from his trophy case is the one being played right now, on the one golf course in America known for breaking even the greatest players who have ever lived. It is almost poetic in the cruelest way possible. The final piece of his legacy sitting right in front of him, guarded by 40-mile-an-hour winds, ice rink greens, and a leaderboard that refuses to let him in. And here's what makes this even more dramatic. Wyndham Clark isn't some unknown player who got hot for 2 rounds and is about to fade away. This is a man who has already won a US Open before. He knows exactly what it takes to close one out. He knows how to handle the pressure of a final group on Sunday afternoon. He is not going to hand this trophy to anybody, especially not to the world number 1 chasing history. If Scottie Scheffler wants this major, he is going to have to take it from a proven champion who is playing some of the best golf of his entire career at the exact moment it matters most. So picture Saturday afternoon. The wind picking up again exactly like it did all week. Scheffler walking out alongside Rory McIlroy, both men knowing that anything less than a low round basically ends their chances before Sunday even begins. Every shot magnified. Every putt feeling like it weighs 1,000 pounds. One bad bounce, one gust of wind at the wrong moment, and years of preparation, years of dominance, years of being called the best golfer on the planet, can disappear into a single bogey on a hole that doesn't care who you are. Then picture Sunday. The final round of a major championship, at a golf course already drenched in history and controversy, with the career Grand Slam hanging in the balance. If Scheffler somehow claws his way back into contention, the back 9 at Shinnecock Hills on Sunday afternoon could become one of the most talked about closing stretches in the history of this sport. And if Wyndham Clark holds firm, if he keeps hitting fairways, keeps draining putts, keeps doing exactly what he has done for 2 rounds straight, then golf fans everywhere are about to witness a redemption story that nobody saw coming heading into this week. Either way, one thing is certain. Shinnecock Hills is not done with this tournament yet. This golf course has a history of producing chaos exactly when everybody least expects it. 2004. 2018. And now, 2026 might be added to that list of US Opens that golf fans will be talking about for decades. So here's what you need to do right now. The final 2 rounds of this tournament are about to decide whether Scottie Scheffler completes the career Grand Slam, whether Wyndham Clark completes his redemption story, or whether somebody else entirely walks out of nowhere to steal this entire championship in the final hours. Nobody knows yet. Not the analysts, not the experts, not even the players standing on that range right now. The only way to know exactly how this story ends is to stay tuned, because this channel will be bringing you every single update, every dramatic turn, and every final putt as soon as it happens.